Hey everyone, this is Jack Wong from PSB Academy Student Affairs, and today, do we have a treat for you. Our guest for today is none other than Mr. Jack Wong, who is one of the most fascinating men I've ever met. He's a corporate leader, formerly working in PricewaterhouseCoopers as well as Baker McKenzie. He's also an Amazon best-selling author, and most of all, he's a black belt practitioner in Shotokan Karate. Tell us more about yourself, Jack.
Okay, thank you, Mark, for having me here. So I have spent 17 years of my life working in Singapore corporate world. As Mark says, I'm from PwC. I was from Baker McKenzie, the international accounting firm and law firm. What's interesting is that these 17 years have given me a lot of techniques in the skill set that can help me survive in my life during the corporate world. But things happened in 2011 because of something. For example, we talk about the global financial crisis. I was asked to actually take a part-time pay and a full-time job. So I decided no go. That's why I decided to leave the corporate world and started my first business, which is a consulting company. And since then, I've never looked back. And that's how I started my entrepreneurship journey back in 2011, which is like 9 years ago.
Awesome, man. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Now, in today's highly competitive market, right, we all know that it's becoming increasingly difficult for a fresh graduate to land their ideal job right after graduation. Why do we say so? Because employers today are expecting more out of the candidates, all right? And it's more and more challenging to impress an employer these days. So Jack, in your experience as a former corporate leader and also now a consultant, what would be some quick tips you could share with our students, job seekers, to stand out from the crowd, to be able to impress an employer and ultimately land their dream job?
Okay, so that's a very good question. Because from my entrepreneurship journey, the one key thing that I've learned is actually called branding. The branding is basically talking about how I stand out in the sea of sameness. And the question is that if I were the employer looking for people to come to my company to work, the first question I would ask is that why would I want to hire this person? With so many applications coming in, do I even have the time to look for these applications and understand these candidates' background and profile? So I always tell the students, you want to stand out and you got to stand out. And one technique that I actually shared with some of my students last year, where they have the same question, was about, okay, since that resume is written, is so common, what if you are not sending resume in written form? What if you are just sending a 30 seconds to a 2-minute video showing your employer, hey, this is my video, I'm not so sure whether you want to check it out, but in case you want, check it and just take a look. And then you do your pitch down there. So that's how you can stand out. Whether you get the job eventually, you still require the interview. At least you get a chance, a very high chance to be picked up by the potential employer. And that's the way I help some people to get their dream job.
Got it. Now, Jack, earlier on when we were having coffee, you mentioned there is actually a very specific challenge that you can share with audiences watching back home. What would that challenge be?
Well, I work with a lot of people, whether it's teenagers, whether it's like young adults, or even the old aunties or uncles. One thing that I noticed that's common in the market, the problem is that I am afraid to be judged. As what so many people said, I'm afraid to be judged. So when I ask people, just for example, yesterday I did a training, I just asked very simple question. How many of you would love to take out your smartphone and do a 30-second video just talking about anything you want? Guess what happened? A lot of people said, that's not me, I can't do it. So over the last 12 months, what I did was that I issued this challenge to my students. I said, okay, you got to only do one thing that will only take 2 minutes of your time a day. 2 minutes. That is, you take out a phone, talk anything under the sun, do a video. You don't need to post it out. Now, that's the first thing you need to do. You do not need to post it out. If you do, awesome. But if you do not, at least that's called the practice.
Correct.
And the key thing is that practice gives you the confidence.
Absolutely.
So when you do it daily, you realize that at the end of 30 days, in just simply 30 days, I got students coming to me and said, 2 minutes is too short. Can I have more time, please? Because I have a lot to share. And some people say 4 minutes, some people ask me, can I do 7, 15 minutes? And I've got even one student telling me that I did a 45 minutes.
Wow.
I couldn't stop talking about it. I say, dude, come back to the day one when you told me you cannot even do a 2-minute video to now you do a 45-minute. What is the transition you've gone through in just 30 days?
It's all building experience.
Exactly. And this challenge is even more powerful if you dare to actually post the video out to public. Because the first thing you need to understand is that yes, there could be people watching you, judging you, but this is also helping you to overcome this issue of self-fear.
Got it.
Because at the end of the day, when you put down something else, you'll be judged anyway. So my point is that instead of being judged by other people, the first person who judge you in the first place is who? It's yourself. So let
Absolutely.
that fear out and then let it go so that people understand who you are. And this is how I build my relationship. I put a lot of things out every single day. The key thing is that I don't really care how people look at me.
Correct.
Because at the end, branding is one thing. That is, what do I stand for?
Got it.
So, Mark stands for what? Example. Jack stands for what? If you are clear with that branding,
Clarity.
people would know why they should come to you and ask for help. That's how I build my expertise anyway.
You know, as we say in PSB Academy Student Affairs, don't just learn it, apply it, and see the amazing results come your way. Jack, it's been a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Jack. And this has been Mark Wong for PSB Academy Student Affairs. I'll see you in the next video.